So today let's learn dynamic memory allocation. Then there was a doubt about one program on structures. I'll be explaining that to you. So what is dynamic memory allocation is what we have to understand first. Whenever you write any program, for all the variables you use in your program, memory has to be allocated. Is that right? Now, say you write some statement like, I'll just write that. Yeah, you write a statement like this: int x. So if you have this statement in your program, memory gets allocated to the variable x. Then, if you write x is equal to say 25, value gets stored. That is, the 25 value gets stored in the variable x. So that is, for all the variables we use in our program, memory has to be allocated. Then, how much memory has to be allocated? So this is fine if we just erase all this. Yeah. So allocating the memory for the variables is good. Of course, it is very much required. Then, if we know well in advance how many variables we need in our program and how much memory is required for the execution of our program, we can declare the variables and we can use that memory. For example, you write an array. So when you write, for example, int a of, then within square brackets, you write 10. That means you're getting the memory allocated for storing 10 integer variables. It can so happen that you do not know the size of the array well in advance. So I'll give you an example. Say today, I want to start the class for, say, third semester students, and I want to store the details of third semester students. Let me say there are 50 students in the class, so I declare an array of size 50. Then let us say some more students take admission, some 5 students take admission, then I have to increase the size of the array. But it's not possible because will have declared the array as int a of, if a is an array, I will have declared it to be of size 50. Now I want to store the details of 55 students. It's not possible with this array. So what should I do? I'll have to declare in another program, I'll have to declare the size of the array as 55, then store the details for 55 students. Then, okay, I do it once. Then some 10 more students take admission. Then I'll have to change my program again. So this is one problem. That is, the memory allocated may not be sufficient for my program. Or it can so happen that I want to store the details of 50 students. So thinking that I have allocated the memory of size 50. So this is what I've allocated, size 50, but there are only 25 students in the class. In that case, I'm wasting the memory for 25 data. I just have a data for 25 students, and for the next 25 students, I'm wasting the memory. So both of this is not liked in the program because we have to utilize the memory very, very efficiently. So by saying memory, I mean main memory, that is RAM. So hope you all know that. So whenever I say memory, I'm talking about main memory. Then in that case, if we do not know the size of the array or amount of memory required in our program, we can go for dynamic memory allocation. What is dynamic memory allocation? So allocating the memory in your C program during the runtime, allocating the memory for the values during the runtime is called dynamic memory allocation. Now, how do we do this? In C, we have alloc one function. So we have
Ma'am,
malloc.
your voice is breaking, ma'am.
Okay, there should be some network issue. Is it happening with everybody?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'll try to be louder. Now see whether it's okay because I'm quite loud now. Is that okay now?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. If you again have a problem, you can let me know. I'll be little bit louder now. Okay. So in C, okay, I'll just repeat. What is dynamic memory allocation? Allocating the memory during runtime is called dynamic memory allocation. In C, we have four functions: malloc, calloc. This is calloc. Then we have the free function. We have the realloc function. So these are the four functions that can be used in C for dynamic memory allocation. All these functions are defined in stdlib.h. So if you are using any of these functions, you have to include, that is hash include stdlib.h is a must. Only then you can use these functions in your program. Now let us see how each of these functions work in the program. Let's see the syntax. Let's see some simple programs using these functions. Is my voice clear now?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Okay, so I only had to be louder. Okay, let's see the syntax of these functions. So malloc is the function that we are going to study now. Name of the function is malloc, which stands for memory allocate. This is called memory allocation. Now, malloc function reserves a block of memory of the specified number of bytes. Yeah. It allocates the specified number of bytes and it returns a pointer of a void type which can be casted into pointers of any form. Read the statement, then I'll explain what it is. Okay, malloc, which stands for memory allocation, is a function that reserves a block of memory of the specified number of bytes. Then it returns a pointer of void type which can be casted into pointers of any form. So I'll explain each one of these terms. So here is what is the syntax. So we have pointer which is a variable which is declared. PTR is a variable and we write that is equal to cast type. So this cast type, that means it's a data type. Type casting means changing the data type of a variable from one type to the other type is called cast type. You're changing the data type of the variable. So this is called cast type, or you can also say data type, and it's a pointer. So star. So this star indicates that we are trying to convert something to a pointer type of data. Then malloc is the name of the function. Here you have to mention the size in bytes. You have to mention how many bytes are to be allocated. So here we have an example. Pointer, that is PTR, is equal to float star malloc size of float. Now this size of is an operator in C. Size of, it is one word. Size of is an operator in C which takes a variable or a data type and it returns the number of bytes required for this float. Say it's a 32-bit machine. In that case, this float size of float returns 4. That means 4 bytes are to be allocated. So this malloc allocates 4 bytes because you can directly write 4 here. That's also fine. But we do not write the numbers because we do not know what is the size of, we need not know what is the size of the data types. So we just write size of float, because when you run this on different machines, based on the architecture, size of float will be different. So if you just write 4, then it will allocate only 4 bytes. But if you want to make it run on different systems, then we have to write size of float. Now for this example, on a 32-bit machine, you have size of float as 4. So 4 bytes will be allocated. Then how does it look? It looks like this. So it allocates 4 bytes. Remember, these integers, floats, characters, of course not characters, integer, float, double, long, all these require more than 1 byte to store their data. So like this, 4 bytes will be allocated for your program. Let me say this is with the address 100, this is with the 101, 102 and 103. So 4 continuous bytes will be allocated to your program, and this malloc returns the first address. So this is the first address. It returns 100. So since it is size of float, it is 4 bytes. From the memory location 100 onwards, 4 bytes are allocated to your program. Now, how do you know which byte is allocated? For that, malloc returns the first address. Now, since it returns this address, what is the type of data you can store there? Malloc does not know what type of data we want. So it will return a void type of pointer. You all know that void is a data type. It returns a void type of pointer, and that void type of pointer is typecasted to float. So this is what we call it as float, changing the data type from void type to float type. So float star we have written. That means in these 4 memory locations, we are going to store one floating point type of data. Then to the pointer PTR, 100 will be assigned. So now PTR will be holding the address 100. Hope this is clear. Any doubts? Okay. So in response, I assume no doubts. Good. No doubts is very good. So malloc allocates 4 bytes of data and returns the starting address, and this malloc returns void type of pointer. So it has to be typecasted to, that is, change the data type of void to some particular type of data, whatever we want. So I'm typecasting it to float type of data and assigning it to pointer. Now, to access these 4 bytes, we have to use only this pointer 100 through PTR. We do not have a variable name for this. Hope this is clear. We'll write an example. I have an example program for this. I'll execute that and show you how it works. I'll do end show. Yeah, here I have a program. I'll just copy this program. Is this visible clearly on your screen?
Yes, miss.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
So now here we have a program to demonstrate how malloc works. I have just written std, of course. I have included stdio.h, stdlib.h, then main. Here I only have a pointer type of variable, int pointer. Means what happens? Now a variable ptr is declared, and this ptr is of type pointer. I've written star here. Okay. I cannot increase the size more than this. Font size is large only. Okay. So here pointer I have declared. Now observe what I'm doing. I've written ptr is equal to int star malloc int. This size of will calculate the number of bytes required for storing the integer type of data, and that many bytes will be allocated to your malloc, to your program through malloc. It returns a pointer to the first location. Then I'm typecasting it to integer type of data, int star. Now I can access that location through PTR. I told there's no other way to access that. So we can access that using PTR. Now enter a number. I scan of some number. Then value of that number, whatever you have entered, is equal to value at PTR. It is star PTR. PTR will be holding the address of the new memory allocated. Then value at PTR will be displayed. Let's run this program. Without a variable name in your program, I'm showing you how your program works. Enter a number. I enter 25. Then the value is 25. Observe, there is nothing like x, a variable of integer type. I have not written x is equal to 25. I have not written ampersand x. It's only a PTR. Hope you could follow this. Now run the program. Some other memory location is allocated. So I will try to write 10. It will display 10. You can also do this. I'll just show you. Printf percentage u. Last time I had told percentage u is. It is an unsigned type of data. So we will write PTR. So this is, I'm trying to print the memory allocated. Memory allocated. Okay. So it will show memory allocated as this address. Okay. So here memory allocated is some number here 3393 something. So some memory location is allocated. I'll enter 5 and it is showing the value is 25. Every time I run the program, the same memory need not be allocated. So just remember the last three digits. It is 376. So this memory is allocated to my program. Next time, let us see which memory gets allocated. You can observe it is 520. No other memory location is allocated. Remember, this is the first address allocated. Four contiguous bytes will be allocated. Okay, this is how the program runs. Yeah, this is one type of function for dynamic memory allocation. The next one is calloc. This stands for continuous allocation. So this malloc function allocates the memory and leaves the memory uninitialized. That is, the memory is allocated. So whatever garbage value is there, that garbage value will remain as it is. But in case of calloc, the memory allocated and all the memory locations are initialized to 0 by default. So calloc stands for contiguous allocation. Now mainly calloc is used when we want to allocate the memory for array. We want a block of memory to be allocated. So the syntax is PTR cast type star. So this you have seen even in the previous example. Calloc is the name of the function. Then it is n comma size. So size of, you can write size of int or something. So many size, this many blocks, n number of this much size will be allocated. The example is here. PTR is equal to float star calloc 25 size of. So this will allocate the memory for 25 numbers of floating type of values. So n is the block size. So that much memory want to allocate. I have an example for that. Yeah, it's here. I'll copy this program and let's run and see how it works. Why is it not getting copied? Oh no. Let's see. I'm copying this and I want to paste it here. Now, this is the program to demonstrate calloc. You can see again, I have not had any array here. So n is some variable, I is some other variable, ptr is a pointer, and I have written sum is equal to 0. I want to find the sum of elements of the array. So enter the number of elements. So I'll enter n. Then here you can observe I've written ptr is equal to int star calloc n size of int. That is, I am trying to enter some integers and want to store it in an array and find the sum of those elements. So here I have written enter the elements in an array I is equal to 0, I is less than an I plus plus. Then here scanf ptr plus I we have to write. So you can observe how I have written the scanf statement. So ptr plus I. So ptr will be storing the first address. Then when you add I, it will add 1, it will start accessing the next element. Then it is sum is equal to, and read it like this, sum is equal to sum plus value at ptr plus I, then print the sum. We'll see how it works. I'll enter n as 3. So n is 3. I'll enter the elements as 10. And observe it's taking 3 elements, 20 and 30. So the sum is 60. Observe, I have not written, I have not declared any array here. I'm just using it with the pointer ptr. So this is how a block of memory can be allocated. Now here I can also display the elements. So I'll show you how to display the elements using the array. I'll just enter the elements. P scanf, I will printf. Yeah, I'm just reading the elements and printing the elements of the array. So I enter the elements 1. Oh, sorry. I have to enter the number of elements. You at ptr of I. Yeah. It is asking me for number of elements. I will enter the number of elements as 4. I had entered it as 1 earlier, so that's why the program terminated. So 2, 5, 7, 3 is the elements I've entered. So it is displaying 2573. So these are the elements of the array. So what I did, I just input the array elements and I just output the array elements. So we do not have this statement because I put it in comments. Remove all this. So what happened? I declared pointer here you are going to int star calloc n number of int of size, then enter the elements. So 0 through n minus 1, I perform scanf and I'm just displaying. So this is read the elements of the array and print the elements of the array. So this is how it works. So what actually happens here is when you are executing this program, memory gets allocated for, so I was giving n as 3. So memory gets allocated for 3 blocks of integer type of data. So this block will be, let us say 100. It starts from 100. Since the size of integer is 4 bytes, so here it is 0, 100 through 103. So 4 bytes are allocated for the first element. Then 104 through 104, 5, 6, 7. So up to 107, the second value will be stored. Then from 108 to 111, the next three, the next value will be stored. So calloc allocates size of int, that is 4 bytes, or 3 times block of 3. So this is the first element of the array, second element of the array, and the third element of the array. So if you want, you can say zeroth element, first element, and the second element of the array. And calloc returns the first address, PTR. So PTR will be storing the address 100. Remember, when you execute this program, you will not get the value as 100. It is some memory that is allocated. Here I'm just showing you that it is 100. Then when I enter the values 10, 20, 30, so 10 got stored here, 20 got stored here, and 30 got stored here. So this 10, 20, and 30 will not be stored as 102030. This will be converted to binary form, and that binary form of 10, binary form of 20, binary form of 30 will be stored in these bytes. So how these digital decimal values are converted to binary, you'll be learning in the LD subject. Hope this is clear. So 4 bytes are required for storing one integer type of value. So this is how the memory will be allocated by calloc. And PTR will be holding the address 100. Next time when I want to access PTR, that is the next value, I just write PTR plus I. So it will not add just add 1. It will add that I'll take another class about the pointer arithmetic. In that, you'll exactly know how many bytes will be added. So just for the now, just remember that PTR plus I will hold the address 104. Then I becomes initially I is 0, PTR plus I is 100. Then I becomes 1, PTR plus 1 is 104. Then I becomes 2, PTR plus I is 108. I becomes 3, this condition fails and the control comes out. Okay, this is how the pointer arithmetic. So there'll be another class on pointer arithmetic. Any doubts about this?
No.
Are you all awake?
Yes,
Are you
ma'am.
all awake
Yes,
or
ma'am.
no?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
I'm
ma'am.
at least fully awake. No doubt about it.
Ma'am, can you explain it once again?
Which part you want to explain?
Caleb, ma'am.
Yes?
Caleb,
Kellogg, that's what I
this
just
program.
showed you the diagram also. Who's speaking?
Mega, ma'am.
Yeah. Megha, do one thing. You can call me later. I'll explain it again for you. Okay? Because
Okay,
if I
ma'am.
keep
Thank you, ma'am.
repeating this in the class, then I'll not be able to complete the portion and I'll be wasting many people's time.
Okay,
Otherwise,
ma'am.
anyway, I'll be sending this link, this video. You can go through the video again. Okay, I'll send this video later in your group. Okay?
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah. Let's see the next function, realloc. Okay. If the dynamically allocated memory is insufficient or if it is more than required, you can change the size of the previously allocated memory using realloc function. So for now, you all practice the first two programs I've given. The realloc function I'll be writing, the real program based on realloc I'll be writing later because I don't want you all to get confused with this. So what can happen is, even when you're performing dynamic memory allocation, when you get the memory allocated with calloc, say with calloc, yeah, you will have got allocated some n number of bytes, but you want to change the size of this again. Maybe you want to make it 50 or maybe you want to make it 10. So in those cases, you can realloc, that is reallocate. So the syntax for this is ptr is equal to realloc ptr comma x. So here ptr is the memory which is already allocated through malloc or calloc. X is the new size. We had already got it allocated through malloc or calloc. I want to reallocate it. And PTR is the pointer which we had, the PTR is a pointer which was pointing to the first allocated memory, and X is the new size. Then the new memory block will be allocated and PTR will start pointing to that. So it will look like this. Say you already have a memory allocated like this, a size, some size, whatever it is, and PTR is repointing to this memory location, the first memory location. Let's say that you had got the memory allocated for three integers and PTR is allocating, PTR is pointing to this. Now you want to change the size, let me say to 6 or 5, something different, not 3. So here I have the memory, I want the memory to be allocated for minus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So X, we what argument we pass to realloc is this pointer, that is of this.
Your voice is breaking, ma'am. Not clear.
Network issue. So which I must, at least I'm very loud also.
No, ma'am.
Was it
No,
clear?
ma'am.
No, ma'am, it is not clear.
From
Your
when it
voice
is
is
not? No, no, no. Voice is breaking now or long back?
Now.
Now only, ma'am, from this slide.
Okay. 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 This slide I'll repeat. Can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I'll repeat this slide. If the dynamically allocated memory is insufficient or if it is more than required, you can change the size of the previously allocated memory using the realloc function. What does it mean? We have got the memory allocated through malloc or calloc, some amount of memory. Then I want to change the size of it. For example, say through calloc, we have got this memory allocated. Yeah. Through calloc, let us say this memory is what we have allocated and PTR is pointing to this location through calloc. That is, through calloc, I had written, let us say, int star calloc 3 comma size of int. So 3 bytes, 3 locations for storing integer is allocated. PTR is pointing to it. Now I want to change the size of this array to 6. So I will give realloc pointer, that is this address, and this x is the new size. That is, I want the memory to be allocated for 6 integers. So I write this as 6. Now when I write this, what happens is a new memory gets allocated. A new memory location gets allocated for 6 integers. Then all these 3 data, whatever you had, will get copied here. Say I had 1 here, 2 here, and 3 here. Then 1 gets copied here, 2 gets copied here, 3 gets copied here. All this will get copied here. And the new pointer, this, it is some other location. It need not be this. So some other location is allocated for holding 3 values and this PTR is returned by realloc. Now PTR starts pointing to this location. Then in that case, what happens to this earlier allocated memory? It will all get deallocated. So this will all be returned to the operating system for to be used for something else. So all this will get deallocated. So this is no more existing then. So this is how the size of the array becomes 6 from 3. So we the programmers will not know any difference in this. We had the size 3 and all the values we had was 1, 2, 3. It is there. And the new size is allocated. So now you can go on adding into these locations. So this is how the realloc works. So now you can start storing 4, they say 50, whatever data you want, you can store it in these new locations. So array size was 3, it has become 6. So this is how the realloc works. Here pointer is reallocated with a new size x. So this is what I told. Hope the concept is clear. Did you understand this?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good. Then once the memory is allocated to our program, we have to deallocate it. It will not get deallocated on its own. Dynamically allocated memory has to be dynamically deallocated. DE, deallocated. So that can be done with the function free. So here we have the free function for that. So free is a function which is used to deallocate the memory. That is free the memory. So we must explicitly use the free function. We should explicitly use the free function to release the space. The syntax for that is just this much. Free, here free and the pointer. So whatever memory is allocated and to which PTR is pointing to will all get freed. So it is no more allocated to your program. This statement located in the memory pointed by PTR. So this has to be done. So if we do not do this, then the memory allocated through malloc, calloc, realloc will be allocated always to your program and cannot be reused. See here in the program, I had written a statement which I had not explained it earlier. So this free PTR, I had written it here. So this is a program which I executed and I showed you. And here calloc program. So this is a calloc program which we executed. In this also I have written a free PTR statement. So if we do not write this, then the memory allocated through through malloc, calloc, realloc will be always allocated and it cannot be reused. Memory has to be utilized very efficiently. So once it is allocated, it has to be deallocated. That is, it has to be freed through free PTR. So this is about the dynamic memory allocation. Any doubts?
No, ma'am.
Okay, I like to hear no doubts. It's not good. So if you have any doubts, of course, you can definitely ask and make your doubts clear. So that is okay for you. Then I'll be explaining this program. This was asked by one of the student. One of so that this program. I had sent this. How many of you have seen this program? How many of you tried executing the programs we had sent? You have to keep practicing. Okay, now the problem definition is enter the marks of 5 students in chemistry, mathematics, physics, each out of 100 using a structure named marks, having students, roll number, name, chemistry marks, maths marks, and physics marks. Then display the percentage of each student. So what the problem definition says is we have to define a structure. Name of the structure is marks. and the fields of the structure is name, roll number, chemistry marks, maths marks, and physics marks, and display the percentage of each student. That we have to calculate the average of these marks. So what the problem definition is, I have executed that here. Where do I have it? Okay, this is the program. We'll execute this. Yeah, this is the program. So what I have done is for marks is the name of the structure. So it has the roll number. So roll number I should have declared it as int because roll number cannot be float. So it should be int roll. I'll make int roll, and I have declared an array 100 array size of mark. So let us do it first for only one student. So I'll not do it for an array, we'll do it for only one student. So S is a variable of marks type. Then S has a roll number, S has a name, chemistry marks, maths marks, and physics marks, and the sum. Now I don't need this percentage. Percentage, I need it here. Enter the number of okay, I'll have to make so many changes.
Ma'am,
Yeah,
while declaring, we have to declare the struct variable inside the main.
yeah.
Inside the
So
main.
there are different ways of declaring the variables of structure type. So one method is this, where I just write struct marks, define the structure, then write the variable name here itself. In this case, S is a global variable of structure type. So S dot chem, S dot maths, S dot physics you can use. So this is one way of declaring. It's a good question. Okay, otherwise you can declare it here. So if you're declaring it here, then you have to write struct, what's that, marks. Struct marks, yes. You can also do this. Okay, either declare it here, yes. If you declare it here, it becomes a global variable. If you declare it here, it becomes a local variable. So no problem, you can declare that. Okay, both are fine. So this is mark. Oh, I have to change the whole program because I changed the variable. Yeah, I'll write yes dot name, enter the name, I have done. Enter the roll number. So roll number I say is an integer. So I write yes dot roll number. Then physics marks, it is S dot physics marks. Then chemistry marks, it is S dot chemistry marks. Then it is S dot math marks. It is S dot math. So I have declared a variable. Yes.
Ma'am.
Any doubt? Yes.
Ma'am.
Yeah.
15th
It's
line
yes of I.
It's only of one student.
I'm just doing it only for one student. I don't
Ma'am.
have an array here. If it's an array, then I would have written S of I. It's not an array. I've just declared only one variable. I'm doing it only for one student now. Is that clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Just for one student. Student's name, roll number, marks, chemistry marks, and maths marks. Then here,
Ma'am.
yeah.
15th line for scanf and percentage. S dot name.
S dot name. It is No, we do
And
not need ampersand here. What you are saying is we have to write this, isn't it?
yes, yes, ma'am.
S dot name. Ampersand we do not write because what is name? Name is the name of the array. Name of the array is already a pointer. It's already an address. So we do not write ampersand here. So in yesterday's pointers class, I have explained why we have to use this address operator. So ampersand is nothing but the address operator. So this is nothing but the ampersand is the address of operator, right? So address of s dot role is what we write, but name is already an address because it is the name of the array. So name, okay, NAM. Now NAM is the name of the array. A name is the name of the array. So whatever you write here is the name you are giving to that array. So that is the pointer. That is an address. Pointer meaning address. We do not write ampersand here. Is that clear?
Yes,
Then I write, I do not have sum here. So I have to write s dot
Percent.
percentage. S dot percentage is equal to s dot physics. Then it is s dot chemistry. Then s dot maths. So I'm adding all the three marks and divide it by
Total number of
3.0.
subjects.
Remember that you have to write the parenthesis for addition, then divide it by 3.0. If you do not write parenthesis, then only math marks will be divided by 3 because division has higher priority than addition. Hope you all know this. So
Yes, ma'am.
write
yes,
all
ma'am.
these in parenthesis. First, all these three will be added, then it will be divided by 3. Then I print s dot percentage. S dot percentage. Okay, now let's see. Hope there are no syntax errors. I've done so many changes. Why is it not running? It's not running.
Yeah.
S dot percentage was the problem. Why? Okay, I've already closed main here. So that's why it was not running. So I'd already closed main. Enter your name. Well, T is the name. Roll number is 10. Marks in physics is 90. Marks in chemistry is 80. Marks in maths, let's say 100.
100.
Why score less? Let's score full marks. So the percentage is 90. So that is average of all these three. So it's calculating this for one student. Is this program clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Now we want to do it for 10 students or more than that or less than that. So now you have to write scanf n, that is how many students do you want, percentage d, then space address of n. So I want to do it for n number of students. Now write a loop. So for I is equal to 0, I is less than n, I plus plus, then all these marks I'll be entering for n number of students. So now you have to write s dot I. Hope this array concept you understand.
Yes, ma'am.
doing it for S of I students. Then again I have to write the loop for the percentage. S of I dot percentages, S of I dot physics marks, S of I dot chemistry, S of I dot maths, then print the percentage for ith student. Percentage of student I will write is equal to, then I use another variable I. Yeah. Yeah. Percentage of dth student is what I'm printing here.
Ma'am.
Yeah, I is not somewhere I is become capital. Where I should
Ma'am,
have been.
14th
Yeah.
line.
No, ma'am. In for loop, there will be a semicolon.
Yeah. Good, good. Observing it nice. Yeah. Any other error? Oh, somewhere again. In function main 35 expected declaration of statement at end of input. I have not closed the for loop. Yeah, number of students. I have not written a statement there. Enter the number of students. I'll enter the number of students as 2. So the name is QWERTY. Roll number is 10. Physics marks is 80. Chemistry marks is 90. Maths 100. Then it will ask again for the new student's name. So I'll write ASDF is the name. Roll number is, let me write 11. Marks in physics is, let us say 75. Chemistry is 65. And maths is 85. Let's score more in maths. You can see that percentage of student 0 is 9. Percentage of student 1 is 75. Okay, this is how we are calculating the average of 3 subject marks of n number of students. I showed it to you with only one student, now with n number of students. Any doubts? I'll just make one more variation on this and then we'll end the class. Any doubts in this?
No, ma'am.
Okay, now let's see one more variation. Here I have only 3 subject marks. Chemistry, maths and physics. And chemistry, maths and physics, I have written so many scanf statements. Now, you all in every semester have 8 subjects, 6 theory and 2 labs. Then should I write so many scanf statements and so many this here, variables here? Instead, we can declare this to be an array. So I will make this maths m of is an array of float type. You can see that we have a structure marks which has 4 fields. So these are called fields of the structure. Hope you know, or members of the structure. So m of 3, an array which is of float type. Percentage is again of float type. Then character and role. So you have an array as a member of the structure. Now, how do we access this? So instead of writing name, roll number, then instead of writing all these statements, I can just use a loop here. So I write for j is equal to 0, j is less than 3,
3.
j plus plus. Because the size is 3, because the size is 3, I'm taking it from j of 0 to j of 2. Then I can write scan f percentage t is s of I, comma m of j. It is s of I, comma m of j. So what happens? Initially I is 0. Then you enter 0th name, 0th marks, 0th roll number. Then I is still 0. 0th students, 0th mark, 1 mark and 2 marks. Then control goes back here. I becomes 1. Then S of 1 name, S of 2 name, S of 1 dot marks of 0, S of 1 dot marks of 1, S of 1 dot marks of 2. That is, for every student you are entering 3 subject marks. Then while calculating also, here I have to write the same loop. The third sem ರೀ third sem 2 ನಿಮಿಷ ರೀ ಸರ್. Then here I have to write, I'll not write all this. I'll have to calculate the sum. I'll declare a variable sum. Sum is equal to S of I dot M of J. S of I dot M of J. I have to make sum is equal to 0 for every student. I have to declare a variable sum. Variable sum. Then calculate S of I dot.
Ma'am.
Yeah.
Sum equal to S of square bracket I.
Sum is equal to, it should be sum plus. Then it is sum divided by 3.0. Did I delete the statement there? That right? Printf percentage is equal to S of I dot observe how I'm writing the program. I'm purposely typing it so that you understand how I build the program. Okay. Then I close the for loop here, the outside for loop. Hope there are no errors.
J is under.
J is not declared.
Declared.
I have to enter the number of students. It is 2. Enter the name, roll number 10. And it is asking for 3 subject marks. So here you could have written a statement, enter 3 subject marks. So those printf statements you all can write. It is 90. It is 90. 1 subject mark, 80. Another subject marks, 100. Then it's asking again for the next student name, next student roll number, next student I'll enter 75, 65 and 85. So it is calculating the percentage as something wrong. Percentage 00. So somewhere here, somewhere I have gone wrong. So phi dot let us print the sum and see.
Ma'am, 23 line is wrong. Percentage F it should be.
Okay, that was, it is declared as float, is it?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Let's calculate just the sum. Maybe that was the error. Otherwise, there's no percentage F, percentage this. Yeah, backslash. Let's see. I'll do it only for one student and let's see how it works. So the number of students is 1. Yeah, the percentage is 90. You can see that the percentage is 90. Okay, there are some is 0, so somewhere it's not calculating the sum correctly. Some I think I've declared it as int. Yeah, that was the problem. Sum is this, then it is float. Float sum, then sum should be, yeah, that was a problem here. So I had written percentage F here. Okay, now it's all correct. So it is showing the percentages 90. I had entered the marks 90, 80, and 100. So it is 90 is the percentage. So the percentage is calculated correctly. So this is how you have to build a program and see whether there are any errors. And if there are any errors, how do you correct? So you should be good in correcting your programs. So I'll calculate 80, 70, and 90. You can see that the sum was 80. Yeah, I have written the sum within the loop here. So I'm printing it j number of times. So sum was 80, then it added 70 and it became 150. Third time it added 90 and the sum is 240. So the total sum is 240. Then the percentage is 80. Is that clear? So this is how you can have a member of the structure as an array and you can use that here. So practice this program. So if you have any doubts, again, you can come back to us. Okay, thank you all. Have a good day. Happy Engineers
Thank
Day
you,
once
ma'am.
again. Okay, we'll end the meeting now. I'll send the video of
Thank
this
you, ma'am.
meeting later. Thank you.